That my monitor says I'm in a practice session.
Not anymore. Recording has started.
There you go. Outstanding. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Harden. This is the Norwalk Parking Authority's monthly September meeting, starting off just a few minutes past 6 o'clock. And we're going to kick it right off with public comments. Let's hear from all the folks out there. We have anybody in the room?
We do not have anyone. There are no public attendees.
Makes me feel a little lonely sometimes. All right, no comments. So we'll let that sit. If somebody does chime in, please let us know. But we'll move on from there. Can I have a quick discussion or a motion to for the minutes from last month?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Judd wants to make a motion to approve as read, no corrections.
No.
Eric?
Second.
All those in favor? Yep, and that's us. Okay, we passed the minutes. That's good. Very quick chairman report. I just want to report that in my new effort to talk to the private lot managers and the folks that are doing the enforcing in the private lots, James and I had a brief meeting with one of the guys who holds a lot of the contracts in town for the private lots, and we're in a discussion to try to talk about how we can align our methods, the effort leading towards a universal way of parking in Norwalk, so that no matter where you are, who you are, a resident or guest or anything, and wherever you park, it would be a much more universal way of parking via signage and cost and things like that. And it's a very long discussion, and it doesn't have any real answers to it right away, but I'm really glad we were able to start the discussion. And I think you'll see in the coming months or even year or so that we bring this up once in a while as we improve on how we can get along between the public and the private lots. I do think it's important. And that was like my extracurricular activity this month. Other than that, we are going to go swiftly through the first few points on this because I know under new business, there's a few things that we're going to need to discuss. So why don't we do just that? Why don't we dive into financial and operating and have Stott and Rocky. Where's Rocky? Oh, there he is. Hi, Rocky. Give us their report right now, and we'll push forward. All right.
Okay, so we'll combine this into a higher level quick report because we know there's a lot on the agenda. So I don't know, Rocky, if you want to just bring up the ops report. We're really just going to highlight a few things, really compare where we are 2 months in to this fiscal year compared to really pre-COVID. I mean, we know we're going to be up to budget and to last year because of the pandemic. So what's not in this report is what I'm about to tell you. And basically compared year to date, compared to pre-COVID, which is 2019 fiscal year 2019. On the revenue side, it's only off about a little over 6%. So, we're 94% of pre-COVID levels. Expenses are favorable to pre-COVID levels too, by like 6%. And the fund balance or the operating surplus compared to pre-COVID is only about 2019 is only about $20,000 off, about 7%. So that is a good thing. If you want to scroll down, Rocky, to the page, keep going, go to the permit activity on the next page. A highlight there, just compared to pre-COVID, we are down about almost 22%. And that's really mainly due to what we've talked about in the past, the mainly the commuter facilities. Webster Lot, which has some commuter parkers, South Norwalk and East Norwalk railroad stations. And there's also a drop over at Yankee Doodle too, because of the reduction in parkers or spaces that Ford McMahon needed. The bright spot is Main Street, where that has been up a little. And then on the transient demand basis, and I know that's the previous slide, Rocky, but compared to pre-COVID 2019, this year to date, we're only off about less than 0.7% compared to pre-COVID in terms of transient activity demands. So that is a great sign.
Yeah, going up, baby, going up.
Yeah.
Stop. Do you know, do you have an updated estimate on commuter ridership?
I don't, but I can get that unless Jim has it or knows.
You may have it.
Yeah, so we're still stalled at, in the low 40s, right? So
Okay.
we were seeing a progressive increase month to month, but, I think with the Delta variant coming out, it brought a little bit of a stall. So we're still in the stall, the low 40s. Stop, can I ask you one question on the permitting? You said that we're down in Sono.
In the permitting, now that comparison I have was compared to 2019.
But don't we still have a wait list at Sono? So even if they're not taking it, aren't they still paying?
No, so we have fewer permits that are being paid. I want to say we were at 750 pre-COVID, and now we're like, what's the number? Let me pull it up for you here.
Jim, the people on the waiting list, they don't pay at all. They just are on the wait list.
No, but if we're down, that means that people who were paying are no longer paying. Shouldn't we offer those permits to the next one in line?
Correct.
Because if they gave up their permit, they're no longer there. Like, and somebody might want to reserve that space, or they might be one of the commuters. Like, so are we reaching out to the people who are on the wait list to fill it back up to capacity?
Yes, we are reaching out on people on the wait list. That list was about 500 people on the wait list. So we've been, contacting them, and most of them asked to be removed from the wait list. And the 174, 75 that we have now want to be kept on the waiting list, but they're not ready to start parking.
Okay.
So nobody's really taking them.
Do they move? Is there a hierarchy change when they? Does the whole thing work on hierarchy, or what happens when they say keep me on the list, but I don't want to buy it?
Hierarchy like if they have a nice car.
No, it's really they get on the list. It's when they requested to be on it.
Right. So do they move to the bottom? Do they move to the bottom of the list if they want to stay on the list?
Right now, all the 170 that we have can be fit within our 750 space available for permit, Eric. But basically, that's how it works. When you are offered a permit, if you declined it, you go at the bottom of the list.
Okay.
Right.
So should the faucet turn back on and suddenly everybody wants to commute, then the new people would be added to the bottom of the 175, and then you'd play through those before you got to them.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Let me just get this right. We're not, the capacity of Sono is somewhere in the 960 range, correct?
The capacity. Yes,
The capacity. So we're about 750 permits, and the 150, 60, 70 people that are on the waiting list have all chosen not to start purchasing yet.
So we're about 430 permits now. Pre-COVID, we were about the 750, 760.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. We're at 430. So as far as the way it feels to me then is we really don't have a waiting list. We kind of have a group of people that are preparing to buy but haven't yet. But so that's a little concerning, because we want not only people on the waiting list, but we want people on the waiting list that want to buy tickets.
Yeah, so basically when those people are ready to repurchase, we're going to accept them.
Right.
basically.
Right.
Until the demand is high enough again, where we start, the kind of a real wait list again.
Right. Right. Understood. Okay.
Okay, so we won't go through each individual location. So Rocky, we can go all the way down to Judd's report, and we can go down to the tickets issued versus demand, which had a little uptick, which we know is still gonna fluctuate until it kind of stabilizes, but it is down from the peak we had in June. That's page 18, Rocky.
Stas, last month, I think we talked about the beach tickets were included in there and you were going to remove that part of it, or is that correct?
Yeah, you know what?
Because it skews the report in comparison to previous years.
Yeah. You know what? That's my mistake. We'll have to fix that for next month,
Okay.
Judd. And just, and confirm that too.
Okay, that would be great.
So beach tickets.
I mean, does that make sense to everyone else? It's because we've only been ticketing at the beach for 2 years.
Well, we want beach tickets on a sub line. We want it separated. We don't want them just pulled out.
Well, and technically, we're not ticketing, right?
No, we are.
No, we are.
Yes.
Well, Laz is, but is it the parking authority?
No,
Yes, it's the parking authority system. It's a different set of employees and contract, but it's the parking authority system, and that was the arrangement between the parties, not LAD, the city and Public Works and.
but we're working to change that, I think.
We are working to change that. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So Stas, do the fees from those beach tickets, does that come to the parking authority or does it go to Rexham
Yes.
Park?
No,
Yes, it comes to the parking authority.
Oh, it is.
That's
Oh, the
the
ticket. Yeah,
that's the consideration for using the system and kind of the overall management of it.
Okay,
and being the ones that take it on the chin.
yes, so everyone knows, hold on a second. I can't put my screen back. Oh, here it is. So everyone knows we are working towards trying to figure out how to just take that contract underneath MPA and let us handle the whole ball of wax. There's a lot of strings attached to that, so we're still talking about it, but that's what I think the proper thing to do is anyway, in my mind, since we're the parking authority and it's a big parking lot. We should just be running it. So.
Well, I completely agree, and not to get off on the subject, but if it comes down to depriving the Parks Department of revenue, and which I don't want to do. I mean, they need money more as much as anybody else, but it should be cleaned up. It's unclear, and it's it's just not. I don't think the system is set up the way that it serves everybody in the best way.
No, and all the money goes into the general fund, and I don't think there's a problem with earmarking it in some way.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I don't think
thought
it's
it went-
I don't think it's about so much the fact that we would be getting the money and they wouldn't. I just think that it's a management thing, and they they can still have credit.
It goes to the general fund.
It all goes to the general fund.
All right, can we change it like tonight? Can we vote?
No.
Well, yeah. So to clarify, the parking fees go to the city. The enforcement, the violation revenue comes to the parking authority.
Right, but that's the way it is with
Yeah.
the NPA. But the fees at the beach go to the same place in the city that the fees for the MPA go. And the enforcement money was the vig between us letting them use our system.
Gotcha, yeah.
Basically, right, exactly. So it shouldn't be that complicated, and yet it is. So we'll continue to work our way through it. That's all I got. on that.
All right, well, I'm sure you will, and then you'll let us know. All right, and then moving on, Rocky, to the next page 19, the customer courtesy program that is continuing as planned. So no changes there. The pay by sell program is rebounded and is doing well. And then the last item we'll talk about that Rocky will update you on is the project status report on the last page.
Thank you.
All right, on the project status update, we have, hold on, let me share the screen. So for the month of August, we have completed replacement of the rugs on the westbound side of the South Norwalk train station by the lobby area. And also the installation of the 5 pay stations on Washington Street, and then removal of the old meter poles was completed. Tree trimming at the South Norwalk overflow lot was completed. It was actually blocking the surveillance video camera that we had there, so we did trim some trees over there. Repair was done on the westbound men's bathroom. The men's bathroom was damaged. Customers, and we have repaired that bathroom. Stair treads on westbound side was also completed. This has been out for, not damaged for a while, through the threads bubbling up from the bottom, and it took longer to replace it because the vendor was not couldn't find the material. So that has been completed on the month of August. And below is the ongoing projects that are still going on for completion for September, some ongoing for staff visit of the surrounding businesses. The only place that we visited this month was the Pellegrini Jewelry on Washington Street. He had some concern about the pay stations, his customers not knowing how to use it. So we went and visited Larry Pellegrini and explained that with Jim's Amory. And we've added some pictures. I know Captain Mike, you asked to show some pictures of projects done. This is the rugs that were completed or replaced at the
Nice.
side. This is the before and after picture. South Norwalk, the stair tread that we were talking about. This was the bubbly that was closing. This is after it was repaired. Lower Haviland Power Wash. This was done last month, not in August, but I just wanted to show the before and after pictures of the power wash. The rest of the pictures are just projects that the guys are doing. So we want to take a picture of them while doing their work, and wanted to include in the project update. This is while they were power washing the South Norwalk train station lobby and westbound area, wall, windows, and the sidewalks. This is the replacement of the removal of the poles on Washington Street and the installation of the pay stations. This is the guys working. And the last picture is this is the South Norwalk train station drainage cleanup. This is while power washing the Haviland lower deck. That's what I have for the maintenance project update.
That's great. I love those before and after pictures. It's so important. I love it. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
That's all we have to report unless there's a question.
Nice. Questions, comments, thoughts, criticisms? Agenda, engineering and project. Is Vanessa with us?
So Vanessa is at a harbor meeting tonight, and she was going to try to make it. In the event that she couldn't, we did chat about the items there. So I can tell you that we should get the approval from CONDOT, the Metro North, for work on to begin on Sono train station. So the work is scheduled to begin on Monday. So we are on.
What are they
target.
doing?
So that's all of the improvements that we signed on for Capasso to
Yes.
do.
Yes. Okay.
So we just needed, we've been waiting for the approval from Conduct because they have to schedule, it's a challenging balancing act of scheduling us to be near the tracks. So that should take, so once that work starts to go in place, the capacity is already in place. They have all the materials, they're ready to go. And we will start all the weather sealing. And then the
Webster Green lot.
the Webster Green infrastructure. We got all the final work with them today. They are scheduled to so what we're looking at and what the contractor is telling us that we'll have by the end of this year is the green infrastructure in at the lower part of the lot. They will excavate, put the green infrastructure in, do the bioswales. We'll put in the temporary asphalt, so it will be pavable. It will be fine. All that will happen by the end of this calendar year, right? And then that will tee us up for the repaving of the entire lower portion of the lot that will take place when the asphalt plants open in April. I typically like to wait a couple of weeks, let them get their mix correct. And then, so I think we can anticipate that will probably be finished up in May.
So Jim, all the adjacent businesses know this is coming, right?
So the adjacent businesses know that it's coming. They don't know the date. We're still waiting. So we on the actual date that they're going to start. But we have been having some conversations with the businesses to let them know that what's coming in general. That we have some improvements, and we also been working with DPW in preparation for that. We recently were out there and cleaned all of the catch basins. To minimize any of the flooding that may occur, but they saw them all out there. We had some conversations. We are waiting for the actual schedule of work to begin, and then we will notify all the businesses of what that schedule is. We want to make sure the contractor has all of the necessary equipment. Supplies are sometimes a challenge. They're telling us that they're not going to have a problem with all the piping, but we just want to make sure before we give the actual schedule to the business.
And the schedule will be windows of time, not specific dates, right?
Right. Yeah. So what we can expect at this time, but roughly it'll be around what we expect to be in a timeline. Like so first 2 weeks of October, second 2 weeks of October. So giving some vagueness of it, not holding to a date, but just letting them know that more like we will start at section 1 and then move to section 2 and section 3. So they're not going to take everything out at one time. They're going to do it in a staged to try to minimize any disruption. But let's see, there will be a disruption to the spots closest to the stores. That's where that's where the retention field is going. But we're going to try to minimize that work as much as possible.
Yeah,
or that disruption.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No problem.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Hey, so I'd like to flip things around a little bit and give Brian. Brian, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, in case you have other things going on in your world tonight, would you like to go now and then have the rest of the evening, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to go now if that works for you all.
Yeah, I'm happy to. That's fine. So the request for qualifications RFQ is something you wanted to talk to us about, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you inviting me to tell you a little bit about what's going on with that.
All right, it's all yours.
All right. So yeah, I just wanted to provide a brief update. Some of you all may have seen the request for qualifications that we issued regarding the Webster Street lot. I know this has been a project that's been sort of contemplated and ongoing for a long time, being a large parking lot in the center of the downtown there. Really what we're looking at this as is a first step in terms of trying to advance some of the planning work that was done in 2004 initially, and then also in 2016. Identified a number of constraints regarding the development, and, rather than trying to unpack everything on the front end, the thought is issue a request for qualifications to obtain a preferred developer to initiate the discussion with. It's either a preferred developer or a group of developers that we would really first test the qualifications, make sure that they have the requisite experience, make sure that they have a demonstrated or demonstrable concept that we could all look at and talk about, So really, it's just the first step to kind of test the market and see what's out there in terms of interest. And then from there, we'll have the latitude to, develop either requests for proposals or a specific project that we all kind of feel is acceptable for the site. In addition to releasing the RFQ, we also released a fact sheet to the adjacent property owners so people were aware, and also wanted to make the rounds in terms of these meetings to answer any questions you may all have in terms of the process or kind of what we're thinking. So that's sort of my general introduction, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Judd, you are muted, my friend, which is nice, but unproductive.
Okay. Hi, Brian. The project you're talking about is building around the parking lot and building a parking garage over the Webster. Is that it?
Yeah, so there's no real, refined development concept right now. Again, what we're asking is the market to kind of define what they'd be interested in doing, and then we have to make sure that obviously works. We did put a number of parameters, though, that we do know are fixed. Obviously, replacement of the existing parking that's there. I mean, that's a huge, resource and asset in the, middle of the community. But we kind of left it a little bit open in terms of what the development community may think may be the best use of that site from a, either residential, office, flex space, that sort of perspective. And we'll evaluate that. And then that'll help us have the information to figure out what works for us. So we'll be continuing that discussion. There's no specific concept. There's really only what's been done in the plans, which is high level conceptual information.
Oh, okay.
I heard that one of the stipulations, though, was that we are going to name it the Captain Mike Parking Facility.
That was in there. I made
Whatever that
sure of
becomes,
I made sure of that. Yeah.
It wasn't my idea. I heard a rumor.
You have
Yeah.
to start off on a good foot.
So I don't know, 3-4 years ago, a developer came to the city and the parking authority to do something similar over on the Main Street lot. Mike,
Yes.
I can't, who's it? Their office is right in the trolley barn there. Who is that?
They developed that property at the end of the river, right
Head of the
there.
harbor.
Yes.
The end of the harbor, right?
I just can't-
they're-
Discala.
Scala, right.
Yeah.
Their
So
plan
Sca-
B was to take over our parking lot, build a whole bunch of apartments on top of it, and then give us back some of the parking underneath. And I think the final consensus was no.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, but the general, there was so much public outcry about it. They
Yeah.
just dropped it. So.
Yeah, they
Yeah, and one of the expectations that we put in there, obviously, is that whatever group of developers or single developer, there's going to have to be a public involvement process that they lead and involve the community with in terms of shaping the vision for the site. Really, we just want to kind of limit the universe to the qualified group of people that we think, have the financial backing, have the actual credibility and the things to do
Yeah,
to engage in these discussions. Because there's a number of issues and constraints. I mean, in 2016, there was a memo by my predecessor that identified some of these challenges. So that's available, both in terms of from easements and just sort of things that are, challenging to the site, inherently challenging to the site. They're not incircumventable, but they're things that we need to broker that discussion. So we want to find a partner to begin those discussions with to try to have a collaborative process.
So Brian, is part of the process going to be to evaluate what the potential is for the buildings along North Main Street, for example? So because if something happens, it adds capacity to that lot, then that I think creates opportunity for all of the businesses on that border the street. So would that be, at least on an analysis level, would that be part of it?
Absolutely. So we're kind of doing some data analysis on the front end to get ready for that discussion. Sort of the stuff that we've been doing with the TOD work, we've kind of extended that. The retail analysis that we sort of developed based on our discussion, that's going to be part of starting that balancing in terms of what we can get and leverage as a result of any potential investment here. So yes. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm certainly not speaking for the parking authority, but from my personal perspective, how can we help?
Yeah, no, I definitely
This is
appreciate
what
that.
we're
I
doing.
think, yeah, this is helpful. I mean, I think as we get the proposals in, we're going to need help we have the institutional framework to evaluate them and have discussions, because it's going to be a process that we need to reconcile on the public side to make sure it makes sense for everybody. So there's gonna be more to come and more opportunities to get involved.
Good. This is all good news.
But for now, we
Excellent.
kind of put the
So-
net out there and we're going to see what we get, and then we'll come back with more.
Are
So
we
you're-
now? I
Oh,
don't
Brian, I
know.
don't know if you said it, but when does it close? Do you know?
Hi, Jess.
Yeah, so currently, so just in terms of the schedule, we're actually going to also do a sort of a pre-information meeting with people because, you know, there's a lot of information to unpack because we advertised to a nationwide audience. We want to try to cast the biggest net. It's due November 5th. It's a relatively expedited timeline in terms of what we're asking for. So that may move depending on the feedback we get at the meeting that we're going to have with potentially interested applicants. But that's where we're currently targeting is November 5th, Jess.
Is that request on your website somewhere?
Yeah, it's on the agenda. I saw it was linked on the agenda. It's under our 4 vendors page. You can take a look at the fact sheet that we sent out. There's an initial project page and then also the full RFQ.
Okay, good.
There's a lot of history and context. We try to be as, you know, transparent and provide as much information as possible because we really want people to, you know, have the information to make some good decisions and a good proposal.
Transparency in the government. It's exciting.
We do what we
I
can.
love it. All right, that's great. No, so I don't think we have to vote on that, right? That's just, do we vote on that? No.
That's just informational.
No,
Yeah,
that's
it's
just
information,
different.
right? All right. So thank you so much, Brian. You are more than welcome to stay. I know you're very busy. You can come and go as you please.
I love the data. I already got the data. I'm good. So I'm going to
Okay.
take it.
Okay,
Thank
Fair
you. It's
enough.
nice to see you all.
thank you so much. Come
Enjoy
back
your
If you have any
anytime.
questions, just email me or we could connect. I'm happy to answer anything.
Excellent, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
James, do you and your team want to talk a little bit about credit cards and single spaces and multi spaces and
Sure.
fun
That's what
with
we're here
meters?
for, right?
Yeah,
Works for me. All right. So, you know, this is meeting number 2 for me. I believe I want to say week 6 on the job. So it's been, you know, certainly jumping into the deep end and learning how to swim as quickly as possible. But it's been fun, albeit challenging. And, you know, one of the things that I started to look at were I wanted to bring to the table were a lot of the policies and procedures that I've seen used throughout the country, and things that work really, really well, and statistically are used almost universally because of the effect that they have on the parking authority or with the city. One of those is specifically a credit card minimum. You know, there's obviously there's processing fees for every credit card transaction. We've all seen it. We go to get gas. There's a fee to use the credit card, or at local shops, there's a credit card minimum, because there is a fee to process those. So on page 64 of the agenda packet that went out, I put together some numbers for a presentation. And I'm going to share my screen as well, so you guys can also see that. There we go. Can you guys see my screen at this point? Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
yeah, perfect.
Yes.
So, you know, times are still a little tight. We are certainly coming out of, you know, trending in the right direction for our on-street parking, for the getting over the pandemic. I know things are still a little in the air with the Delta variant, but, you know, we expect things to continue to trend in the right direction. However, you know, we're still having a little bit of difficulty getting the parkers in the city, right? So obviously that's a different challenge all into itself. But with that difficult challenge that we have, I've been focusing on trying to make sure that we are as efficient as we can be in different areas. Obviously that's pretty loaded and it's a lot of data to go through, which is why I wanted to start here. You'll notice it seems that there was definitely a decision put in place, it seems in 2019, to remove the credit card minimum. And with that, you can see an uptick in the total percentages of credit card transactions that are happening at a net loss. And I've broken that out and projected it to we're going to run into about roughly $15,000 of loss on credit card transactions that are 75 cents or less. So I believe that we should put a credit card minimum back in place. I recommend that we put a dollar minimum in. That's pretty much the average across the country for cities, municipalities, universities. It's also New London, more locally, New London, New Haven, Stamford, and Middletown all use as well. Because at this point, you know, for the multi-space, we're looking at a little over 10% of all of our transactions that are credit card are happening at a net loss. So I believe this is the best course of action at this point would be to implement a credit card minimum moving forward on both the single space and the multi-space machines.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you said we eliminated a minimum in 2019?
That's an assumption I'm making based on the numbers and the
Okay.
jump of the loss percentage. Because that's not something that happens naturally. So there, that high of a percentage jump, there must have been some sort of decision or policy made at some point. So that, and I did verify that there are no credit card minimums on the machine. So I just put 2 and 2 together in that regard.
So who, oh, sorry, Judd, are you done?
Yeah, no, I because I don't recall removing minimums or anything like that. But anyway.
So there were 2 votes from my predecessor a few years ago. James, you spoke about the first one. The second vote that we took, and as I remember it, was whether or not we allowed the absorption of the tax in that 50 cents, or we added that tax to the top of that 50 cents. And the vote came down that it was absorbed. And so I believe that's what we're seeing in the revenue loss. Is there a way that we can just switch that over and revote and say that now that tax money has to be added to that 50 cents?
So, Mike, if I could jump in, I think there's 2 things that are there. So one of them would be so what James is referring to. I think at some point in time it does look into 2019 that there was a vote that I think we had this conversation where credit card minimums were no longer required. This is not as much having to do with the tax as having to do with, so James specifically looked at those transactions since 2019. We started seeing like 25 cents being put on a credit card, right? When 25 cents is put on a credit card, we're faced with up to 75 cents in charges, right? So, those are the ones that are specifically James is talking about at a loss. I think if we were to look at the absorption of the credit card, typically what we have seen across the state was that we have just adjusted the rate, right? So we bring it into a denomination that can still work in a coin meter, but it would typically be like we're 5-10 cent increase. I think we can look at those separately, but this one that James is presenting today is simply just those credit card charges that are happening that are under $1, creating a loss. And we saw more of those credit cards coming at a loss, higher loss that happened in 2019, beginning in 2019 and then 20 and 21. And the
right. I guess not just tax, but the fees as well. But I feel like there's a way to reverse a vote we did in 19 that allows us to say, okay, you want to pay 50 cents, but it's going to be 50 cents plus the fees instead of what it is now, which is just 50 cents, and we're absorbing the fees. So the charge would end up being, 82 cents for a 50 cent. Does that make sense? I feel like it's an easier switch.
Well, the Connecticut state law prohibits us from putting a fee onto credit card charges. What it allows you to do is to set your fee and then do a cash payment reduction. So like when James was referring to gas prices, if you pay by credit card, it's $3.50. If you pay by cash, it's $3.25, right?
Right.
The price of gas is really $3.50, and you're getting a discount for using credit, right? So we can't charge someone a fee simply for using a credit card.
So, but we can say, so at that same time, it's okay to still use a coin or 50 cents, but it's okay for us to say, if you use your credit card, there's a minimum. And put in $1 minimum or a 70, or it's okay to do that?
Yes,
Correct.
yeah, so we could,
Correct.
there's nothing precludes us from doing a minimum, and we could do a minimum, and that's pretty standard across the industry is $1.
Are we gonna put yet another sign up that says minimum credit card charge $1?
Multiple signage?
Well,
I
mean,
don't
know-
think-
I hope not.
Well,
Sorry.
we could put it could be on a display, right? It could be on for the pay stations, it could be on a display. Right.
I've never seen any on-street signage anywhere in this country that shows any sort of credit card minimum.
So-
It can be displayed on the actual screens of the machines. We could also, and that can be done automatically from the back end software without actually having to go and touch every meter.
So we're talking 15,000 a year here.
Yeah, that's the projected loss total
I-
for 2022.
Okay, I mean, I don't think this is the time to be doing this with COVID. A lot of businesses are struggling. You know, I, as a resident of the city, I have lots of friends and neighbors know I'm on the parking authority, and I get lots of complaints, and I could imagine starting to hear, you know, what the F is this minimum charge? That's new and stuff. And you know, if the economy was booming or the restaurants were booming and stuff like that, I'd be happy to have this discussion, but I don't think this is a time to do it. If we are looking to save 15,000, I would say cut back on the courtesy cards or something like that. But I just personally, I think a lot of people would get annoyed unless there was very clear signage about a credit card, and a lot of people don't have anything but credit cards these days.
Judd, I gotta respectfully disagree. I mean, everything I touch is much more expensive this year. Every piece of hardware, everything at Home Depot, every
Yeah, I know.
restaurant, everything
I'm
is
in the
very high. And the
construction
reason is
business, I know.
and the reason is because these people need to stay in business. And so they need to raise their prices because their costs have all gone up. And I think all we're doing here is saying the same thing. The MPA is a business. We need to run a business. And we have just been presented with a scenario where we lose money. Every time somebody uses a card in this way, it's a loss for us.
Yeah,
As
no,
a
I get it.
businessman, we can't let that happen.
Well, but we're also here to support the businesses and make
Yes.
parking as convenient. And we're, you know, to the north, we have Westport, free parking. To the south, we have Darien, free parking. We're competing with that. And, you know, I went to Bank of America over on Wall Street the other day. And as I finished up my ATM transaction, the woman behind me was mumbling. And I thought she said something to me. I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "F in Norwalk." She said, "You got to pay for parking everywhere, even to go to the ATM, you know." And I said, "Well, there's free 15-minute parking out there." And she said, "Well, somebody else is in it." So, you know, I get the 15,000, but I also.
But she's not right? She was incorrect. There is free parking. You just have to find it.
Well, there's, yeah,
It's not,
limited
no.
free parking. I personally, I don't think this is a place to pick up 15,000. Like I say, I think, you know, we do a lot of the courtesy cards. If our budget is struggling, and our budget numbers sound pretty good, I just don't think this is the time to do it.
So if I can, because I don't think that we're looking to pick up 15,000. I think we're
Okay, well,
looking to not
no.
lose 15,000 because
Yes.
I think we are a business, and I think anytime that we're operating, we're not proposing that there's a rate increase, right? What we're simply proposing is that we don't allow transactions to take place that create a net loss for us, that cost us more money to process than we actually get. That's what the 15,000 is, right?
Yeah.
You like somebody is paying, putting a quarter on a credit card, and that quarter is costing us 50 cents.
No, I get it, Jim. I understand the whole thing. I read this 3 days ago, and then I read it 2 days ago, and I read it yesterday. So I get what it's about. I don't think right now with things on the recovery, it's the right time to do it. But that's my opinion. I'd be happy to look at it again a year from now.
I feel like our responsibility is to be in business, to create and maintain managed parking, because as we know, the definition of managed parking has in it that it is better for the businesses in this area to have a good managed parking program. If the managed parking program is doing anything that is showing a loss and has the potential to make it harder to do our job, I think we have to act on this. I don't think we have a choice. I think we have to say that we can't take a loss on this. We're stewards of a program that we can't lose. Right?
You know, and these are certainly fairly conservative numbers. I mean, if you look at the jump from 2019 to 2020, you know, it went up about 7%. Now, I certainly don't, I was pretty conservative in my projection for 2022, but there's certainly a possibility that it jumps another 4 or 5% above what I'm already projecting. I certainly don't expect that number to go down, not with the amount of parking that the amount of transactions that we are projecting for next year.
Yeah, I get the managed parking, and 5 years ago, I was the one who really pushed for a rate change, a rate increase. We bumped the street prices up and all that. I mean, I get that. I just think this, anyway, I think I've made myself clear in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. So.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Eric, how about, what do you think?
Well, I think the longer we kick these issues down the road, the harder they are to finally tackle. I don't think it's ever a good time to tell somebody that something's going to cost them more. But the reality is that, that we can't, just because it costs somebody more, doesn't mean we can absorb it. I mean, I think that these sorts of things need to be rectified. And if that tax situation thing is still being absorbed by the parking authority, that needs to stop also. We're all we're all adults and we're all living in the real world. And if someone comes to Norwalk and expecting to not, which is a city, by the way, Westport is not a city, Darien is not a city. And if they expect to go to any city in the country and probably the world and not pay for parking, then they're wildly misguided. And I think we need to stop pretending that these things don't matter. I'm sorry, that was a little strong. I think we tackle it now. I think we rectify it and plug the hole and move forward.
James, let me ask you a question. What is, I'm sure you thought about this with it. What is the absolute minimum that we would have to raise that to just break even, to rid ourselves of the revenue loss?
I wouldn't go any lower than $1 minimum. The way going down the rabbit hole of the credit card fees, we'd be here all night long. Projecting the actual cost of a credit card transaction is actually impossible. It really is. It's nuts. I can tell you there's 5.5 cents per transaction for our processor, which may be something that we want to look at in the future as well. But that's neither here nor there. There's a gateway fee on top of that because we are processing over the internet, which means there has to be a gateway in order for us to be PCI compliant. So there's that fee. Then there's Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. Each one has their own fees. But on top of that, if it's a rewards card, there's a different fee. If there's a mileage card, there's a different fee. If it's a debit card, a regulated debit card, an unregulated debit card, all of these have different fees associated with them. And our system only captures whether it's Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover. So I don't know if a person used a reward card. I don't know if it's a debit card. I can't pull any of that information to get exact numbers, but I can tell you that if we are at a dollar minimum, we will cover our loss.
I think part of this is, and I know that the marketing for the city is making this a focused effort in portraying an image that Norwalk is a vibrant and thriving city. It's not a quaint little town, and I think Darien and Westport aren't interested in being a thriving and vibrant city. They're interested in being a quaint little town, and I don't think we should apologize for being different. And so these sorts of things are part of part of just reality, and I think we need to acknowledge it and accept it and incorporate it and make sure that we're facilitating the future of managed parking in Norwalk.
And we did look at those other cities within Connecticut.
Yeah, no,
that are charging for that offer credit card parking, and no one is offering it with no minimum.
Yep, I heard that.
So let me ask you, James, is there a vote here? Do we need to take action on this?
Yes, I think we should.
I think you should table it till next month when Tom is here.
I think I actually would like to make a motion to act, because you kick these things down the road and they get more and more splayed out until you sort of lose track of where you are. And I would say we act.
Okay. I don't know.
And
Is that
Judd,
up to Chairman?
I don't think this has to be the end of the conversation, but I do think that acting on this when it's brought to us in the form that it is as a loss needs action. And if there's other solutions down the line, I'm happy to take them, but
one thing to think about might be like the advertising that's going on in the Maritime Garage. That money is sort of, I think, if I'm understanding right, is sort of unbudgeted and and it's part of a sort of a general income. I think rather than not acknowledging the reality of how credit cards work, we take that money and spend it on additional promotions or additional information about how Norwalk works, or something. But we shouldn't spend it on, if we do have that kind of money, we shouldn't spend it on trying to compensate for how the world functions. And so, Judd, maybe there's something that could be, that if that money truly is sort of unbudgeted, or not planned income, then maybe it could be allocated to some sort of further public outreach or something that helps people understand that, declare or to give further clarity on how parking works in Norwalk. But I don't think we should change. I don't think we should attempt to change how the basic fundamentals of parking works just because somebody might not like it.
Well, but Eric, we've done that with the courtesy cards. Nobody else does that. And that, you use the term, yeah, I know it's a great thing. And I look at this not having a minimum as the same thing. It just makes Norwalk a little friendlier.
Wait, it's not this, maybe you're looking at it. You got to remember, what we did was a couple of years ago, what we did was we said we wanted to reduce the minimum, because if somebody wanted to park for 15 minutes, we didn't want them to have to pay for the full hour. Right. So we got rid of that and we let it fall down. I don't know if there's no minimum. I think it's 50 cents is the minimum, whatever the case may be. We let that come down, right? The fallout from that, it appears now, the fallout from that is that although the coins still work as a 15-minute, half an hour, 45-minute way, The credit cards have caught us by surprise and are now a loss for us
Yeah.
in this scenario. And
I
I
see
think
that.
that was just something that we didn't realize when we made that first vote. That the coins and the credit cards were going to end up being different, and they are. The credit cards are now costing us money. So this to me feels more like a correction than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
think
now that it's
adding-
brought to our attention, I do think we need to make a vote and correct it. And
Well, you have a majority, so,
do I?
well, you have you and Eric.
Well, that's only if Mike says,
I won't vote for it, not now.
well, that's only if Mike says yes.
So,
Yeah, no, we're gonna vote on
okay,
it. Can
so
I have
you
a
have your
motion?
majority, so you can pass it, but you won't have my vote.
Fair enough. Can I have a motion then?
I'll move.
Eric, you have to make a motion.
Oh, I make a motion to rectify this situation.
To raise the minimum to $1 for credit cards.
Perfect.
And do I have a second? I don't have a second. I can second.
That's you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We have one
Eric,
opposition.
take your
Judd,
hand down.
That's awesome.
I'm
Motion
not
passes.
fast
Thank you
enough.
very much, Judd. I appreciate it. That's good. It's good stuff. All right. James,
So
what's
Eric,
next
just
on your?
Eric, just for one point of clarification, the advertising money is in the budget, but we will contact Snyder and we will work on some notification as you were talking about. We'll work through them with some type of marketing.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if there's some way, I think
We'll
part
make
of
it
the
happen.
overall marketing of the city needs to come into play here. And, if we're representing ourselves as a big thriving city, then managed parking's, I think, should be part of every thriving city.
We will make it
And
happen.
we're doing
Okay.
it. We're already doing it. We have been for years.
All right, where is my agenda? Let me get this back. Okay. Talk to us about the discussion that you want to have on the Webster lot entrance sign.
Sure. This is should be a quick and easy one. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. The Webster lot entrance sign is it's a little dated. It's a little weathered. It's just in need of some TLC. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get a paint job on there, get it looking nice again, so people can see it from the street. Maybe add our new branding on the sign as well. And also part of it is to help support the businesses. It's a little outdated with the signage that's on there now. Some businesses that have left are still on there. Some businesses that are there are not on there. So we'd like to get that updated, get it looking nice, and make sure that when people are trying to find the entrance to that Webster lot, it really shines and says, hey, here's where you can park. Here's a list of all the businesses. Come on in and enjoy yourself.
Great. Who's paying the bill on that?
So that's going to come from us through the parking authority is going to help. And we
That'll come our maintenance, the parking authority
The
maintenance
maintenance.
ago.
We have a budget line for that,
Yeah,
and we're not
Yes.
going over whatever has been budgeted for it.
no.
Where
No.
is this?
Sounds like a great idea.
Where's this?
The entrance to Webster off of MLK.
Yeah, there's some
So
old.
can we
old
get rid of
businesses
that?
on it.
Can we get rid of all those sailboats and all that stuff that really isn't fully representative of all of Norwalk?
What are you talking about?
I'm looking at, wait, are we supposed to, somebody has a picture up of a welcome Norwalk sign? Is that what
Well,
we're looking
no,
at?
that's not it.
No,
No.
that's not it.
That's the one, that's the
Oh.
one on the highway exit ramp, I think, at
Oh,
95.
oh.
So-
I told you these guys are very visual. Do you have a picture?
I'm looking at this sign and I'm like, that's not Norwalk.
No,
Rocky
well-
gave us pictures and now we know exactly what he's doing. You guys need pictures.
All right.
Where are your pictures?
I can show you a picture. I'm pulling it up. Give me one
Okay, good.
second. All right.
Guys,
but,
I know Jess is trying, but she's got 2 Zooms going at once, so you'll see her bounce in and out.
That's
Oh,
a
that's
talent.
somebody. Oh, that's somebody's like image. Oh, I see. Okay.
All
Yeah, that's
right.
somebody's background.
You could pull it up on Google Street View.
Yep, I've got it right here. I'm just gotta share my screen and then we should be all set. All right.
Okay. Again, the sailboat.
Yeah.
You don't like the sailboat? It's a water town.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, we are a water town, but how publicly accessible is our waterfront?
No, that's absolutely true. I think what James was discussing was updating not only the colors and the paint, but also it has our old logo. The city has a new logo, right?
Instead
Yeah,
of the
our-
sailboat.
We have a new logo. So I think, we were really just proposing at this time that we put a coat of paint on here and we make it look better. And more importantly, we have gotten some phone calls from businesses who are upset that, their business isn't represented on the sign, and businesses that are not there are represented on the sign. So what we were proposing now is just a cost-effective solution to just, put a coat of paint on it and update all the signage at this point. I think we could look at a larger project of what it would take to replace it and put new logos on there, a new look. But I do think that should be a little bit longer of a program, because we'd have to, for a sign like that, we should put it in the budget for next year to do an overview, but we're a quick fix of just, some paint and new logos.
The quick fix is fine with me, because if you want to really dive into it, I'm not so sure it's our responsibility.
Yeah, but we're paying to do work on it.
But we also get the benefit from everybody who uses the lot to visit
Right.
those businesses.
Right.
But shouldn't it say Webster Lot?
Well, but I mean, I think it's a longer, I think Sono Plaza may have been at a time to try to get it to where it was, because why is it Webster Lot? Webster Lot is because Webster Street ran through here in 1960. It was closed to make this parking lot. So I don't think anybody understands the history of Webster Lot. It's a name that just stuck. I didn't even know that it was why it was Webster Lot until last week when I found out that Webster Street used to go through here.
Actually, I just learned that 30 seconds ago.
I thought that maybe there was a Webster Bank in here at one time and that name just stuck, but
So I just Googled Webster Lot, and Webster Street Municipal Parking Lot is what comes up.
we
I
don't
don't
even
wanna-
have
we don't
Webster
need to-
Street anymore.
No, Webster Street went right through the middle. The entrance of over on West Washington, I believe that was actually Webster Street.
Yeah, between the theater and the burger bar.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I don't want to, we don't need to dive into this, but okay, so then is every business, what's the equity of names on the sign versus people who don't have a name on? Are we going to get more heat because not everybody's on the sign?
No, everybody can fit on the sign. There's
Yeah.
enough signage for every restaurant. Or every business. We just don't have them because we have businesses that are not there
Right.
on the sign. But everybody who's on there will be able to fit onto the sign.
So I'm with Mike, just quick fix, but I think it points to a bigger issue. James and I actually talked about this. It points to a bigger issue of continuity of names and destinations.
Which I think is a much bigger project that we're
Yes.
working on for the near
Yes.
future in terms
Yes.
of signage and logos and appearance. But
Agreed.
this is
Agreed.
a clean, simple fix for this, because you're right, it's looking a little raggy and
But if you do want to saw off that sailboat, that's fine with me.
how about we give you the saw?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
I'll add that to my notes.
Okay.
Jim, give us a fun story about the Yankee Doodle facade talk to us about a fun story.
All right, so that fun story is you know, when we initially talked about the Yankee Doodle Garage, the consultant that had engaged us was Desmond, and we had talked about Desmond. We got the approval for spending up to $20,000 for the designs of the facade. But we had not gotten back at that time a proposal from THA. THA came in at 18.2, I believe it is, but so slightly under the $20,000. And they have Desmond, I think, is a leader in providing, you know, the maintenance of our facilities. I don't know anybody that does it better for the conditions assessment, right? THA really has, you know, their finger on the pulse of what the garages look like, right? So we engaged THA. We moved forward with THA. We actually had the team out to take a look at it. When we went to go finalize the purchase order, the notes, minutes from the meeting referenced Desmond. So the purchasing department rejected the purchase order because we're looking for a purchase order with THA. So we just need you to vote to allow for to engage THA in up to $20,000. And the team was out there, took a look. We provided them with some information about the garage, some GIS information, some property information, really talked to them in a larger scale about the RFP that is out for Wall Street, the Wall Street corridor, and how this is an integral part of it. And to fit it in, they will be working up through a couple of proposals, and then we'll be meeting with the parking authority, you guys, in the midst of the process to engage in the direction that we're going, and then come to you with a final presentation that has a low, medium, and larger cost solution for the modernization of the facility. So I just need your approval to engage THA.
It's THA.
Yes.
So do you have a written motion? No. Do you have something?
So so it's just a motion to engage THA in in up to $20,000 in concepts for facade improvements for Yankee Doodle.
Does it have to say in place of Desmond, or is it?
No, they just want something that just references. There could be one of two things. You could either you have $20,000 to engage a firm, or you could be, which is probably what we should have done initially, right?
Right.
Or you specifically do it as THA, but because we specifically did it as Desmond the first time, I can't engage THA.
Gotcha. All right. So that's the motion. The motion is to engage THA for up to $20,000 to do this.
Should we not use their name? I mean, we're doing this because we use somebody's name.
Well, I mean, we're gonna move forward with THA, so it doesn't mean anything. I think in the future we'll provide we'll cast a wider net. But for this one, it's fine to do THA.
If you come back next month and make us change it again, we're going to say no.
Okay, I won't do that.
Eric, would you make that motion?
I'll make it.
Judd, would you second it?
Yes.
Darlene, did you get that motion?
Yes, I did.
Thank you so much. All those in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank you,
No
John.
opposition. Thank you so much. We have an advertisement campaign at the Sono train station as our final topic. If somebody would like to give us a few minutes on that.
Sure. So we've been reaching out to local businesses because we have a lot of empty poster advertising spaces in the Sono garage that are just a little bit of an eyesore because they're empty and kind of take away from the look and feel of the train station. So we thought it would be a good idea to engage local businesses for a no-cost advertisement campaign and see what kind of business we could drum up, what kind of advertising we could drum up, and then maybe in the future this leads to a new revenue stream for us. So I've been going to some businesses. We already have a few printed out and ready to go from some local businesses. I've approached a few others. We now have a flyer that we are handing out. And I know you like the images, so I'll make sure I share my screen so I can show you guys the kind of the flyer that we have.
And while James pulls up the flyer, it's not a no cost, but it is a low cost because the business is actually paying for the print. So that we're not incurring any of the costs for the printing. It's all being done by them, but we're just offering them this space for that. So
Well, thank you, Jim,
$36.
because that was my first question. I don't want anything that doesn't have a cost. There's no such thing as free parking.
Yeah.
That's right. I do apologize. So there is no advertisement fee, but there is a print fee for the poster that the business does have to pay for. And that varies. It's between $25 and $35, depending on the size of the poster, because we have two different size poster sleeves at the.
And how long are the
train
flights?
station. I'm sorry, say that
We
again.
told them that we would guarantee it for 3 months. So basically they're $10 a month, but we hope that once we start to engage people in this and we see it and as we welcome more people back into the train stations, it becomes a little bit more visible, then this becomes a value add and we can turn these into revenue producing advertising boards at some time. It also, we also have the walk distance. So how far it would take to walk from the train station to each of the businesses.
And I think that's a great idea. And I don't want this to sound greedy in any way, but it probably will. If we did lesser flights, like 30-day flights, and we kept advertising, we gave it to them for the cost of the print until we had a waiting list, and then we put a little bit of fee on it. It feels like a better business plan.
I think we do that, but we don't. I think we could do it in a way that says it's free until a certain date, and then if we don't have a waiting list, then we just extend the date.
Yeah.
Rather
Well,
than
we
saying,
did say 3 months. So we did tell them that we'd offer it them so that they understood that there's a value that they're paying, and hopefully when we're there, we can begin to engage these folks again after 3 months, and then it's up, and then we can say, hey, did you like the campaign? And then we can turn that into a revenue source, maybe a new photo that gets added there or something. But so there's nothing precludes us in 3 months from going back and saying, hey, was it working for you?
Yeah.
can we broaden? Are these the three categories that we're going with?
No, these are not the only categories. I went down, I reached out to the Residence Inn for a stay Sono. So we have a lot of other different options that we're looking at. So
We're looking for people who are, some of the new apartments that we'd have a live Sono. So we're looking at, it's kind of like a, live, work, learn, play, kind of.
Would you look at made Sono? Like the 1420 is a distillery that's made here, that when they make their product here.
I like that.
And other people that might make something in Sono.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I think the more categories we have, the more businesses we can reach out to. The more.
Yeah.
How many locations are there?
Oh, geez.
32, I think it's 32. We have 32 frames within the 32 existing frames within the station.
In the garage and
in the station houses.
And you have some people that are definitely interested already. Is that
Yes,
these
correct.
are ones that are up now, yes.
Oh, these guys are up or okay. I think
they're already up, and we have some other ones that are interested that we're just working through. I think there is there's another one. This is a sample. We have Pellegrini Jewelers that has a shop Sono. They're up already.
good.
Yeah.
There's also things like I just saw today some of those lawn signs, that there's a half K run, a Sono run. So things like shorter term, things like run Sono or bike Sono, the bike shop moved over to East Norwalk, but the electric bike shop did. But there might be that sort of thing too, like, that are a little bit, they expire when their event occurs, like the half marathon.
Yeah.
Don't we have frames over in East Norwalk as well?
You mean in the Yankee Doodle?
No, in the East Norwalk train station.
We
Oh.
don't, there is, no, the station's
No?
closed. The station house over there is closed, so.
Oh, I thought there were some frames around it. Okay. And this is just a design thing, but the fact that teardrop is cut off on the left is driving me insane. It's just me. I get it. It's a design thing, but geez. Love to fill that in. Anyway.
What's the question here? Are you asking us
No,
to?
this was a discussion item. We were just letting you know.
Okay, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
I appreciate the feedback, the more that, that's why I want to make sure we have these conversations. Because I think Eric had some pretty good ideas that I'd like to take and run with as well. So,
Well, even
And
like
the businesses
road-
have been
yeah.
really, super excited about this, so.
Well, even like Rose Sono. I mean, there's people up and down this river.
Yeah, all the time.
All that stuff. So Mike, along your level of what your observation, I think I'd make a bigger deal of the walking distance.
Mm,
It looks a little hidden, sort of.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
see if I
keep
can-
in mind,
yeah.
the signs are 36 by 24, so they're much larger than what you're
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Oh, I see.
So they do
Well,
look really nice in the frame.
Good. So they're not baseball trading cards there.
No.
How about Park Sono?
Part.
Get the Maritime Garage picture in there. Or Fish Sono.
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
it was only a matter of time.
Do we?
Why not? There's a
do we-
fishing pier, right there on the river by the.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the Yankee Doodle? Is that where we have I think, Jim, you had talked about the kids' artwork over there.
So when we talked with THA, we talked about that over
Yeah.
there. So yes, it's still something. It's just, our resources are small and we're trying to get this is a lot of work to make this happen. And in the midst of, getting James on board and going through all the data and, making sure that we're solvent.
Yeah.
But, we will present new ideas hopefully to you on regular basis, just to, have us be fresh.
Okay, but you're doing this in Sono already, right?
This happened in Sono, yes. So
Yeah,
this month we got these, actually there's another, but we got these 4 signs up and we've been engaging some of the local businesses and lots of excitement. And I think once they're starting to go up, people will start to see it. But so far, lots of positive comments that have been coming from it.
Good.
Cool.
Okay.
I like it.
Yep.
Well, except for that left side. I like most of it. I'll get used to it. Very cool. All right.
Alrighty.
So let me have my screen back. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm pretty sure that we've covered. Jim, we covered everything you wanted to cover.
Yes, sir.
Garrett, I know you've been talking a lot, but is there anything else you need to say before we?
Not this month. I'll have something for you next month.
You're good? You're
Gary
good?
must be
Okay.
Exhausted.
Okay. We don't need another talker. I just thought I'd check in with you. That's good.
Thank you.
Stath, you good? We done? Rocky?
No, I'm fine.
All right, Tom is missing, so we're gonna need a motion to adjourn from somebody else. Somebody who's been watching Tom and knows how to do it.
I've been taking lessons, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Although, is there a second?
I'll second.
Eric, all those in favor? Thank you all so much.
All right.
The motion passed.
Good job, Judd. You
excellent
nailed it.
meeting.
That was a good impression.
Well done.
Tom?
Well done, Judd. And we still love you.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
night.
Good night,
Have a
everybody.
good night.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your
Good
evening.
night, everybody.